see each other. We've got to keep it to a minimum because we fire each other up. So our next speaker is one of the co-organisers for tonight. And I know some of you have already said to me, ever since I got here, "Oh, Joel, you run a tight ship." It was not me. It was not me. This is just a Turning Point Australia event. Rachel and Angela, who I'm going to tell you a bit about later, Angela, organised this event. They did a phenomenal job, and I'll do the thank yous later. But Rachel is a mother of 5 with her kids ranging from 5 to 24 years old from regional South Australia. And Rachel, who challenged the content and the secrets of the curriculum at her local school, had enough. After receiving the entire curriculum, she has been speaking to groups and organisations across the country to raise awareness amongst parents and informing them of what their children are really being taught and how to handle it in an actual practical way. So Rachel, I want to invite you to the stage so that you can enlighten us as to what you learnt about the curriculum.
So great to see you here tonight, that's right.
I might lower it slightly.
Yeah.
It's all about the gram.
Yeah. So great to see you here tonight. Angela and I have actually gone around South Australia doing like smaller events. We've been to the Barossa and down to Yorke Peninsula and different places, and the Eyre Peninsula where I'm from, because parents do want to talk about this. They want to talk about what's happening to their children and they know something is off. And they're like, but I don't have evidence. You know, I don't know exactly what's going on, but I know that something is wrong. You're seeing it on your phone, you're hearing your child come home from school saying stuff. So we're here to have the conversation that no one wants to have. We have a lot of snakes on our property. We live on 100 acres out in the middle of nowhere. And when we got there, we didn't realise there would be so many snakes. They are everywhere. Our 8-year-old has stepped on one. Our cat's been bitten twice and is still alive from some miraculous reason. I've nearly stepped on 2, and whenever I see one, there's a lot of screaming, right? Because, I mean, who loves snakes? No? Oh, okay, we've got a snake lover. I joined a snake identification group just to help me, you know. But normally the process is I see the snake, my kids see the snake, and we call out to my husband, and my husband comes and deals with it and saves me, right? And he doesn't like me being there because I'm like, oh, you know, screaming. But this one day, end of last year, we've had probably about 55 snakes, I think. So getting used to seeing them, but I walked out the back door and on the grass was this fat tiger snake. And that's right where my boys play. And I was like, no, Matt's at work. What am I going to do? I don't want to deal with it. Like, it totally freaks me out. But I can't leave that snake there where my boys play. And I did consider, do we just stay inside until it goes away? But snakes don't go away, they keep coming back because they're territorial. So they just, day after day, they'll come back to the same place. So I thought, and my son, he's standing there and he goes, Mum, are you going to do it? And I went, yep. So he's like, all right. My boys are standing there cheering me on. I'm like, shh, don't. I dealt with this snake and I was shaking and sweating and my heart was in my neck. And I was like, this is not fun. I wish someone else was here to do this for me, but no one else was. I needed to protect my boys. It was my responsibility and I love them. I don't want them playing near a venomous snake. So I dealt with that snake that day and I faced my fear. Fear causes us to shrink back, to live a small life, to hide away. Love drives out fear. Love causes us to live big and to do things that we never thought we were capable of. Nelson Mandela said, could you click the thing? Nelson Mandela said, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." It's okay to feel afraid about going to your school. It's not a comfortable feeling, but it's something that needs to happen to save your kids. Is protecting your child more important than your fear of rejection in the community? I faced a lot of backlash when I went to the local school, and I was told I was a troublemaker and I was stirring the pot and I'd come and destroyed their community, all because I asked questions. But the children are more important than being hated on by left-wing extremists. It's imperative that we approach this with love and not fear. You love your child. The government does not love your child. The Department of Education does not love your child. The school doesn't love your child. You do. We do. We love our children, and that is why we have authority over them. We give birth to them, we raise them, we know what they're like for dinner, we know what makes them scared. Because of all those things, we have the authority. You have the authority, not the government. They do not belong to the government or the Department of Education. So we are going to go over some concerning information tonight, and then we're going to talk about some options. Okay, so World Health Organization. Could you click the thingy for me? We're just going to have a quick look at the global level, and then we'll move down to national and so on. It's important to understand where these ideas about our children flow from. This is a global issue. The World Health Organization standards for sexuality education in Europe states on page 17, sexuality is a central aspect of being human throughout life and encompasses sex, gender identities and roles, sexual orientation, eroticism, pleasure, intimacy and reproduction. On page 22, it says the development of sexual behaviour, feelings and cognitions begins in the womb. Where did they get that evidence from? Were they doing an ultrasound and watched a baby masturbating? Where did they get that information from? They don't know that. Page 23 says, children have sexual feelings even in early infancy. That is wrong. Children have sexual organs, but their sexual feelings have not yet been awakened. On what basis do they make these claims? The WHO references studies that refer to the work of Sigmund Freud and Alfred Kinsey. Let's have a look here. So this is the booklet, and if you have a look on your chair, there's a little information sheet that's green, and you actually have some websites that you can go and look up for yourself. So don't take my word for this. Go and have a read for yourself. It's there in black and white. Alfred Kinsey wrote a book. Do you want to do the next one? Wrote a book called Sexuality and the Human Male. He also started the Kinsey Institute, and there is a bronze statue of him just here at the University of Indiana, and that was just done in 2023. Kinsey did an experiment on young boys aged 5 months to 14 years, timing the length and number of orgasms that they had over a 24-hour period with a stopwatch. He stated that it was clear that the boys enjoyed it, even though they were sobbing uncontrollably, convulsing and bleeding. I'm going to go to the next one for me. So this is table 34. And table 34 is one of the recordings of the experiment that he did on babies aged 5 months to a boy aged 14 years old. You can see one 4-year-old had 26 orgasms in 24 hours. This man was a monster. This man should not be near children. But the World Health Organization and the United Nations reference his work in their bibliographies. This is where the World Health Organization is getting their science from. My question is, what has become of these boys, and where were their parents? Where was their mother? Where was that 5-month-old baby's mother? We need to be present in our children's lives. The Who matrix. So we're just going to quickly go through the Who matrix. It says in there, from the ages of 0 to 4, early childhood masturbation is a thing. From the ages of 4 to 6, they have secret loves and talk about early childhood masturbation. Ages 6 to 9, they have talking about their first sexual experience. That's called rape. Talking about orgasm, gender identity, ejaculation, and sex on the internet. From the ages of 9 to 12, they're talking about contraception, orgasms, STDs, and what to do with an unintended pregnancy. They actually have a video, I won't say the group. I've seen 2 videos of what to do if a 9 to 12-year-old gets pregnant, and abortion is one of the options. A 9-year-old shouldn't be pregnant. If a 9-year-old is pregnant, they're being sexually abused. Ages 12 to 15, taking time to enjoy sex. Decisions around unwanted pregnancy, like abortion, and risky sexual behaviours. Ages 15 plus, talking about female genital mutilation, abortion, transactional sex, so like OnlyFans, prostitution, sugar daddies, and pornography. We have videos. We have multiple videos from here in Australia and the United States teaching young people that prostitution is a valid and respected line of work. I'm not okay with that. I don't want my children to be participating in prostitution because I want more for them than that. On a national level, our national framework, and you've got the website for that too. It says you could not teach about sexual consent, for example, unless you also taught about sexual pleasure. Why does a child have to understand what an orgasm is to say no to a predator? They don't. You know what you say? You say, if anyone touches you on your clothes or under your clothes, come and tell me and I'll listen. You don't need to explain to them what an orgasm is. But the school is. Another quote from there says, there's a need to address really positive things around sexuality and particularly issues like pleasure and how to be a good lover. I don't know about you, but I don't really want my child learning how to be a good lover at school. I'd like them to learn to read and do maths and do science and do PE. Parents are seen as a key barrier to successful implementation of this program. Now, at a state level, I actually have the public school curriculum. It's the Keeping Safe curriculum. All 1,000 pages of it. Excuse me. And the devil is in the details. It's all in the resources, the websites. Sorry. And the videos that they're watching. I think I need a drink. Oh, there's one there. Excuse me. Thank you. It's predominantly taught in health and PE, but it is very pervasive. So it's actually in every class. They've changed the textbooks. So the questions themselves are, 2 gay people did this, and so, what is this maths question? There's a push in every lesson. There are many different names for the programs throughout public and private schools. This is not isolated to public schools. Many religious and private schools are also teaching it, and it's just as bad as the public school system. In South Australia, we have children being sexually abused by other children. On the playground, in the toilets, children masturbating in class, identifying as animals, being raped, and threats of sexual violence towards teaching staff and fellow students. Sexual assaults are at an all-time high. While their mental health and literacy and numeracy skills are at an all-time low. Our children are not okay. Extracurricular clubs can be a trap. You need to know who your children are spending time with, what's happening at lunchtime, what's happening after school. And you'll hear from a mum from America in just a minute whose daughter went to art club and she was groomed in art club. Online surveys are used for data collection. Has anyone had their child do an online survey? Have you heard about them? They're actually rife. They do them in the midst of science class or whatever. They are data mining your children. So when they do the questionnaire, they say, what gender are you? Are you intersex or whatever? And then they use that information to say to the school, you have LGBTQ students, so you need to provide for them. So that's what they're doing with those surveys, just so you know. Our government policies, like Ralph said, support the site leader, which is normally the principal of the school, making decisions about students transitioning, even if the parent doesn't approve. We have those policies here in South Australia. I've sat with my local MP with the highlighter and gone through with him and said, look at this. And he said, I didn't even know this was in here. They don't. It's written down. The policies say the school can make the decision even if you don't agree. They will go behind your back and start transitioning your child. They will help them make appointments, and the whole school has to go along with it. This must not be the case, and these policies need to change. Now, what options do you have? There's 3 options. Beautiful. It's a big homeschool, so it is a big decision. I'm homeschooling my 2 youngest now, so I've had 3 go through public schooling and private, and my boys now are doing homeschool. It's not for everyone, but it is worthwhile. You can buy a curriculum and do it at home. You can choose how and when you want to do it. My own experience is that homeschool really took the pressure off of our family. We don't run out the door in the morning going, where's your shoes? Where's your lunchbox? Why, I forgot my homework. All that kind of, and you're like, hurry up, we're going to be late. All that pressure, school run. Does anyone love that? Like, seriously? We don't do that. We don't do end of day, stress either. And we're finished by about 11:30 in the morning, and then we get to do whatever we want the rest of the day. Because it's one-on-one, it's actually a lot more concentrated. So they do a lot. And I just buy a program because I don't have the headspace to think of stuff. And there's heaps and heaps of homeschoolers out there. Like in Queensland, it's gone up by 200%. In every other state, it's gone up about 100%. And they're actually starting to come after homeschoolers now. So homeschooling, if you can do it, is an excellent option, and I think especially for little ones. The older kids you can teach and talk to, but the little ones get really overwhelmed, and they don't, can't differentiate between what's truth, what they're hearing at school and what they're hearing at home. So I think it's better for the young ones. You can change school. There are a handful of schools in South Australia who are not teaching this stuff. But you will need to go and do the homework for that and actually sit with the principal, the teachers, and say, do you teach this? Specifically, you have to be really specific about it. But there are schools that will not mention this stuff. So if you want to go find them, if you don't want to do homeschooling and you want to change, there are schools out there. So talk amongst yourselves, because there are people who know stuff in here. I don't want to say specific schools, but you can stay in your school and teach your child to stand up. Now, the first thing about this is you need to keep your child really close to you. And you need to be a soft place to land. So you keep them close, you keep them talking to you. What happened today at lunch? Who did you talk to? What was the teacher talking about? What videos did you watch? So keep your child close to you. That's really important. Teach them truth. There's male and female. And when they come together, they make a baby. Yeah? It's not hard. It's not complicated. If you ground your child in truth, it's hard to persuade them to believe lies. And obviously that's easier as they get older. If any child or SSO or third-party provider asks the child to keep a secret from their parents, tell your child to tell you straight away. There should be no secret keeping. I think I've got a little flag for that. I think we'll keep going. Go. Oh, there we go. There should be no secrets. This is your children. You should have absolute freedom to know everything that they're teaching them, everything they're talking to them about. This is a really important thing. If there are secrets, that's a red flag. You need to dig deeper. Why are they keeping secrets? Sex, secrets, and kids do not ever go together. That is ripe for trouble. At a minimum, opt your children out of health and PE class. That's a minimum. And you might say, well, my kid doesn't want to be. Yep, okay. But there are some deeper things than just displeasing your child in that moment. They can do PE, they can do library, you can set another class up for them. But sometimes we need to be the parent and make a decision on behalf of our child that's better for them. Teach your child to say in class, if they start talking about stuff, I don't feel safe. That's actually in the curriculum. So in the curriculum it says, if a child says, I don't feel safe, they can leave the room. So say to your child, tell them, say to the teacher, I don't feel safe, and just walk out if they start teaching stuff. Know the days that the school's having all their celebrations, Wear It Purple, Ida Hobbit Day, all of those kind of, LGBTQ kind of dates. Ask the school for the dates. Keep your kid home. Have family day. Take the day off work or whatever, organise your time and make it a day for your family instead of destroying your family. Find other families and students who are on the same page as you. Many people feel the same way, just like Ralph said. You are not alone. So many people share the same opinion, but they're so scared to say it because they don't want to be called a hateful bigot. Teach your child that it's okay to agree to disagree. We're all allowed to have a different opinion. Join your governing council and get involved. Talk to your principal and teachers about where you stand as a family. If you're having problems with secrecy regarding the curriculum, this is something one of my friends recommended to me, who's here tonight. She said, in the Royal Commission for Institutionalised Sexual Abuse, it actually has a section in there on families. And it says, families and communities are informed and involved. Families have the primary responsibility for the upbringing and development of their child and participate in decisions affecting their child. The institution engages in open two-way communication with families and communities about its child safety approach, and relevant information is accessible. Families and communities have a say in the institution's policies and practices. and families and communities are informed about the institution's operations and governance. You send that to your school board. They are legally responsible for the school. You send that, I've got it on the little piece of paper. You go, you look up standard 6.6, so 6.6, standard 3. You copy and paste that into an email and you send it to your school and you say, why aren't you doing this? This doesn't look good for you. You're not following the recommendations of the Royal Commission. Write your concerns to the school board and get a support group going. And finally, from someone who I do really like, and there's just a quote coming up here. Keep going. Oh, that's the Royal Commission. Keep going. Yep, there we go. From Robert Kennedy. The only thing standing between the children and an industry full of corruption is a mother or a father. That the job's on us. Thank you.
I kind of realize now that I had been indoctrinated myself.